Welcome to chapter 9, the book of 2 Samuel. Before we get into this chapter, I'd like to mention that we received our new books of the Analytical Lexicon of the Apostolic Bible, which has been out of print for maybe 4 or 5 months. Here it is here. I don't know if the glare, how that will work on it, but it's a robust book, 420 pages, I believe. The new edition here contains a study guide grammar, everything you need to know to learn biblical Greek. We're going through these video seminars. You'll probably know more than most students that go through a academic course in a Bible college or something like that. You may not have all of the nuances of every conjugation of a verb and declension of a noun, but you really don't need it because this book has done for you. It'll tell you all you need to know what the different parts of speech are, and it goes through that in detail. So it's now available on our bookstore at apostolicbible.com. And I mentioned in the last video or so, we also received our Entities of the Book of Revelation book. It's also now available in print. We'll be now going into this chapter. David shows kindness to Saul's house. So David apparently was a man that was thoughtful of other people, but he was also a warrior, brutal in many ways, because the last chapter we've seen where the people were separated from Moab into 3 lines, 2 lines to die and 1 line to live. But yet here he shows the soft side, and he says, and I'm going to pronounce more Greek in this seminar because I had a man writing and asking if I would do that like I did in my earlier seminars, which I did pronounce all of the Greek. Basically, those early seminars were to teach the basics of Greek, and hopefully maybe I'll do it again some way, but I'll pronounce a few of these verses. And it says, K, and this is a person that's not a native Greek. If you're a native Greek and you hear me, and it's probably going, oh no. But it's the best I can do. Ke ipe David estitis eti ipolelimenos in toiko Saul, ke pis so met avtu Elios enekenio Nathan, ke ek tu iku Saul in pace, ke onoma avto siva. And David said, is there anyone still left it should be in the house of Saul, that I should perform with him an act of mercy because of Jonathan, who was his best friend. And from out of the house of Saul was a servant, a pace, and the name to him was Siva, Ziba, Siva, and they called him to David. And the king said to him, Si Siva, ke ipen thulosus. You are Siba? And he said, your bondman. And ke ipen o vasolefs, ipolelipte eti anir ek tu iku Saul, ke piso met avtu Elios theu. Ke ipe siva proston vasilea, eti estin ios to Ionathan pepligos tus pothus. And the king, David asked him, you are Siva? And he said, you're bondman. And the king said, is there left any man from out of the house of Saul that I should perform with him an act of mercy of God? And Siva said, pros ton Vasileia, to the king, there is still a son to Jonathan being stricken of the feet. And the king said to him, well, where is this one? And Siba said, Ke ipa siva pros ton Vasileia, idu in iko machir iu amiil, ek tis lodavar. And the king said to him, where is this one? And Siba said to the king, well, behold, he's in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, whoever that is, from out of Lodavar. And ke epestilin o Vasilevs David, ke eleven avton ektu iku Machir iu Amiel, ek tis Lodavar. And King David sent and took him from out of the house of Machir, son of Amiel, from out of Lodabar. Ke paraginete Mephiboseth, Eosion Nathan, Eu Saul, and comes Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, to King David, and fell upon his face, and did obeisance to him. And apparently he couldn't walk. His feet were both, we'll find out, were both damaged in a fall. And David said to him, Mephibosheth? And he said, behold, your bondman. And David said to him, Me fovu, do not fear, for by dealing with you, now there's a pion that we mentioned before, the 4160 is to do, and depending on the usage can mean many other words. And here I have, do not fear, for by dealing with you, I shall execute with you an act of mercy. Now, you could, for by doing with you, that just doesn't sound right. By dealing with you, I shall execute with you an act of mercy because of Ionathan, ton patera su, your father, whom was his friend. And I will restore to you all the fields of Saul, the patros to patros su, the father of your father, grandfather. Ke si fagi arton epi tis trapezis mu diapantos. And you shall eat bread at my table, the trapezis. Trapeze is an English derivative. Table, which was trapeze, was like a table type thing on a swing in the circuses. So you're going to be eating at my table always. Ke prosekinas en afto, ke ipe tisa mi odhulos su, oti epevlipsas epi ton kina ton pethnikota ton omion emi. And he did obeisance to him on the ground, his face on the ground, to the higher authority, not playing instruments, because this was translated in the King James into worship. And he said, oh, who am I, your bondman, that you looked upon the dying dog like unto me? Again, the poor dog gets a bad rap in the Bible. And the king called Siva, the servant of Saul, and said to him, Panta osa esti to Saul, ke olon ton ikon avtu, dedicato io to Kyriusu. All, as much as is to Saul, and his entire house I have given to the son of your master. And you shall work the land for him, and your sons, and your bondmen. And you shall carry in breads to the son of your master, Mephibosheth, and he shall eat. And when he's not there at the table, I suppose. And Mephibosheth, in Greek, the son of Kyriusu, phagete arton diapantos epitis trapezis mu. And Mephibosheth, the son of your master, shall eat bread always at my table. And to Siva were 15 sons and 20 bondmen. And Siva said to the king, Kata panta osa entetamte o Kyrios mu o vasilefs to dhulo avtu utos piso pisi o dhulo su. And Seba said to the king, according to all, as much as my master the king gives charge to his bondman, so shall your bondman do. And Mephibosheth ate at the table of David as one of the sons of the king. So David has taken him in, and apparently he will be there with the king for a long time. We find out next about him when later on down in this book where Absalom, David's son, rebels and tries to take over the kingdom, and Mephibosheth is left behind because he can't walk, and Seba tried to take over his things and so forth, and we'll get into that later. And to Mephibosheth there was a small son, and the name to him was Michah. And all the household of the house of Ziba were bondmen to Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for at the table of the king he ate always. And he was lame of both of his feet. And I believe I mentioned it earlier where he was taken out when people came to capture and kill Saul's remaining family after his death, and him and Jonathan on Mount Gilboa, and that the nurse took him, and he was apparently a baby, and dropped him, and both of his feet were messed up. So we continue, though, in David's reign. The next is an interesting story of Hanun, how he disgraces David's bondman, and to find out what happens there, you'll have to join us again in the next video seminar on chapter 10. So until then, God bless.